Hey everyone, welcome to another episode of The Other Side of Addiction. I am your host, Al Richards, and today I've got a guest on the show who we just happened to be in the dressing room at the gym, no flipping lie, and he just started talking to me, and come to find out, we have a lot in common, really. So today we're going to be talking about change your perspective, and after you hear Justin's story, you're going to understand why we come up with that title. So, Justin, thank you so much for being here with us today.
Happy to be here. It's great to have a platform like this. I think there's so many stories that need to be heard about, just overcoming and embracing your accomplishments. It's even if they're small.
Yeah.
Sometimes we beat ourselves up. I used to beat myself up like this. I was never good enough no matter what I did. So definitely, this platform. I watched a couple of your shows already, and I love the information. So thank you for doing this, man.
Well, thank you. Thank you for the kind words. And seriously, Justin, thank you so much for just starting to talk to me at the gym. I drive from West Jordan to Sandy up to that gym when I literally have a Planet Fitness here in my backyard at Jordan Landing. And it's because of all the connections that I've made up there, right?
Oh,
I
that's
know
awesome.
so many people. I go around and chat with people, and I don't chat too long because I like to stay into my workout. I don't want to lose my
Hmm.
workout. And I'm just really happy and honored, to be honest with you, that you just started talking to me and come to
Yeah,
find out that yeah, you have a story too, just like so many of us.
right. Well, I think just going to the gym and having that discipline in your life has basically kind of kept me afloat. I've always known in my mind I had to stay in shape to do the work that I do, and so the gym has definitely been a huge a positivity for me, like a plus, and I like to see anybody go there continuously because it's not only good for your mind, it's good for your body, and it's good for your heart, everything. So,
Yeah.
um, and it's good to have a routine like that. I mean, it's a positive routine. So, um, yeah. So I'm grateful to be here. It's funny because when we met, I recently graduated from a program called Mentor Works that it's a unique program because it's not 12 step. It's basically they focus on mentorship, like and cognitive thinking, and most of those things are in other programs as well. But I think what it got me was the therapy. Um, Brainwave recursive treatment is what it's called, and I believe in God, and I think God. After I recently got out of jail, so let me retract a little bit. I got a
Okay.
DUI in December of 26th of 22. And I grew up in a small town. I mean, drinking after work was just the norm, driving home, maybe taking a loop or two, throwing your beer cans out the window. That was just life. And I'm not saying that it's okay. I'm just saying that was just kind of the norm. And so I got a DUI. I got actually in an accident. I've never been in an accident. Someone hit me, it T-boned me. I ended up going to jail, and it was a pretty tough detox, man. It was a 2 week bender. It was during the holidays. Yeah, poor me kind of attitude, right?
Yeah.
Life's never gonna change, blah blah blah, that kind of thing. And as I was detoxing in jail, like it was just it was nuts. I mean, I was hearing things, I was seeing things, I was sweating, it was the worst detox ever. I'm just gonna share this on here. Um I finally just said, I guess I need to end this. Like if I potentially hurt somebody by driving a car drunk, that's the most selfish thing you could possibly do. And I was so downtrodden by it. I was willing to take my own life. Like I really tried. I banged my head on the wall. I got staples and I ended up trying to hang myself with my towel, and they had to wake me up and revive me, and I ended up in the purple suit and all that, or the turtle suit. But I say that to say this: God wasn't done with me. I don't know why, but He wasn't done with me, and He made me go and see that desperation for how much I needed Him through that experience. So as soon as I got out of jail, I got on the phone. I find my connections. I end up finding a mentor works, right? And going through this therapy, and the therapy, my therapist has only had one patient that was longer than 4 months ever. And she's dealt with PTSD from military, she's from Israel. And so she's worked with a lot of the elite soldiers over there who have, seen some nasty stuff, I'm sure, right?
Yeah.
But basically it reflects on your trauma, right? Because everybody knows that drinking stems from a trauma, right? Why did you start drinking? I mean, maybe it was cool. For me, it was an identity crisis. I didn't fit in. I was brown. I was from another country. I didn't fit in with the cowboys where I grew up, and so I wanted to fit in by drinking. And so I started at 13, and then in construction, 15, it got pretty bad. And then at 17, my family just kicked me out of the house. And so it's been a tough road. I'm not going to lie, and I could have put a stop to it if I had the brain capacity to do it. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
I didn't graduate from high school till I was 33 in prison. So my road hasn't been appealing. Let's say that, but the fortitude that I've had and I've known that I've had has kept me going, regardless of some of the trials that I've faced. And obviously God. So with this therapy, it's basically what it feels like is when you've been in a cave for your whole life, and you're just hearing your echo, and basically you come out of the cave and you're on the beach and you see palm trees, and your brain is just like, whoa, what is this? And that's literally how it felt. And I can't really explain it any other way. But I mean, I'm not a professional at BWRT. I've just been a patient, and I tell everybody, about it. uh the life, some people like 12 step, maybe that's your lifestyle. I feel like your mind is strong enough to say, hey, I don't need that anymore. um but you have to understand why, right?
Yeah.
Those
You got.
trauma.
Oh, I was just going to say,
Go ahead.
excuse me. I was just going to say, we have to learn how to pay more attention to our consciousness, right? And
Right.
we have like 86 billion neurons in our brain, and
Right.
we can unplug any one of those damn things and plug it back into a fresh one. And it sounds like that's what this mentor works is doing, right? It's getting you to pull the plug on those old thinking patterns, those old neurons, and plug it into something that's nice and fresh.
Definitely. And definitely, I mean, realistically, okay, I have to be realistic with what I put myself in, the position I put myself in, financially, et cetera, credit. I mean, all that stuff. I feel like I'm learning that at my age, and it's a tough deal. It's a tough deal. So mentors are very key growing up, and it's interesting. But now I've gone through this, like the youngsters I work with. I mean, you can tell just by the way they act, whether the mom was in the house, the dad was in the house, all that kind of stuff. And so being able to see that, I try to encourage them and just saying and positive ways they could change their life early on, so they don't have to worry about things later on. Because money is definitely a stressor, right? I mean, everybody likes to have a little cushion, right,
Yeah.
and be on top of some things, and obviously when you're drinking, you're not making money, right? I don't, between the courts and the 7-Elevens, I don't know how much I've spent. So
Yeah.
I mean, I probably could buy you a house. So
Yeah.
it's ridiculous. But yes, so perspective for me was, okay, I lost my father. That was part of the deal, and he's my adopted father, and it was a couple years ago. And you think, my mind tells me, oh, that's not going to bother me, but when it happens, you break down. It just
Yeah.
happens. You break down, and you start to really think about why we're on this earth. Like, what are we doing? And what am I doing? And so rather than create more chaos like I've done in my entire life, is just I decided the only way things are going to change if I get help first. If I get the help that I need to stop putting that poison in my mind and in my body, then yes, it's an uphill climb. It definitely is, but it's enjoyable when your mind and when you're conscious and you're able to be aware of your surroundings. You'll be able to remember someone's name from the gym. I mean, when I was drinking, I would introduce myself to people and I wouldn't remember who they were like 4 hours later, you know?
Yeah.
So it's all the whole engine's running. Let's just put it that way. And it feels good to be able to have that and experience it even at a later time in my life, you know.
So
I made
to pause you just for a second, really quick, Justin. So was that the turning point for you with the passing of your father?
that was not the initial turning point. That was when I decided to try to seek my higher power,
Okay.
which God, I was trying to like integrate back into what I was raised in as an LDS member and see if that was the route. I mean, my stepmother and I have never got along, and it's been kind of a toxic relationship for the years that my dad and her were married. But she said something pretty interesting. She said, "Look, man, don't be a naysayer. Just go investigate and see if it's for you. That's all you got to do. I mean, don't believe the guy next door or your neighbor or your best friend. Just go and check it out yourself." And so I investigated for about a year, and it just wasn't something that I was really into. I feel like I believe in God, and I believe in a non-denominational type setting where I can go worship and pray to God and not have to follow a lot of rules, I guess. But I hats go off to a lot of those guys. I mean, they basically put their lives in that church's hands and kind of dedicate all their time and effort to that organization, which is fine. There's some good people in the LDS church. I mean, half my family is still members. Um, so yeah, my dad died, and then I was faced with that, and I chose not to. But that didn't stop the drinking, right? The church
Okay.
didn't stop the drinking. It wasn't.
Yeah.
It wasn't until I sought out this program. I've only gone to 2 programs in my life. I was one of those prideful guys that I got this, like, I'll drink a 6-pack this weekend and that's it. And I try to just downgrade, drink wine, drink whatever. I knew if I drank tequila, it was all over. I was going back to jail. But
Yeah, so it's that ego, right? We can do this on our own. We don't need no help.
right. And I think the biggest thing for me that's embarrassing to say is I've always put on a front because I wanted to protect myself from the people when I was growing up, right? So I was always like I was fighting to protect, like the name calling, the ignorance of like not knowing why I was brown, I guess you could say. And so I feel like after going through therapy, I'm kind of reset back to that person that wants to be kind, that wants to be who he really was supposed to be, and not put on a facade just to deter people from coming down my path in a way. I
Yeah.
mean, a kind word goes a long way. Um, my girlfriend, for instance, she and I met, and I think like a month or 2 later, she said, "Thank you." And I said, "What do you mean, thank you?" She goes, "For saving my life." And I said, "What do you mean?" She goes, "I was done. That was it for me." And and I was like, "Well, I never even have, I didn't see it at all." She goes, "No, but there's a reason you came in my life." And I'm like, "Oh, you're welcome," because you just don't know. You don't know what people are really feeling inside because most people won't be transparent.
Right.
I'm transparent to almost too much now. Like people are like, "You don't need to say all that," but it's just to get the story out there that like I've done it all. Like I partied from like 13 until I was, I don't know. I think I got off paper in 2017, and basically, I think after the 25 and stuff, I was really stuck in my like resentment mode emotionally, you know. I felt like I was in so much pain and alone that I wanted everybody else to feel that same pain and loneliness, which
Yeah.
is absolutely insane.
Yeah, but you know, when we are under the influence of a substance or even a thing, right? Whether it's sex or porn or gambling or whatever, it's still working the same way. You know, we're
Mhm.
miserable and we want everyone else to be miserable around us. That's for sure,
True,
because we feel more comfortable in those type of waters, right? I mean, we don't want to
definitely.
jump in a swimming pool where everyone knows how to do the breaststroke and we're the only ones that don't, right?
True, true. I mean, definitely, everybody's unique in their own way, and you know, you don't necessarily. I felt like I had to surround myself by people that were doing the same thing with me because it was comfortable, right? But some of those people were willing to go way off to the deep end, and unfortunately, there's consequences, right? When you surround yourself by people like that, and then you make stupid choices. But um, you know, I've seen a lot of violence. I've seen a lot of stuff that I didn't want to see. I've done a lot of stuff I never wanted to do. And, you know, the point is like you put yourself in those situations because of the choices that you make. And I've made bad choices. So I have to accept that, right? And I have to say, okay, I don't need to do that anymore. Today, my sister always says, today, wake up and be the best man you possibly can be. You have today, so just be the best man you possibly could be. And so in with that and prayer and God and stuff, I just look for ways to help people, you know. I mean, I'm not trying to brag or anything, but like this deck I'm doing, I did the demo for free. I did it for free because most people will charge 22,000, 2,500 bucks. I wanted to do that because I needed to do that. Does that make sense? I've
Yeah,
been a taker my
absolutely.
whole life, and I
Yeah.
felt like this lady was so sweet and giving me the bid, and I wanted to do something nice for her, you know. Or the other day at the store, these kids couldn't afford like a bag of chips or something. I was like, go to school, guys. I got you, you know. Um, it's the little things like that that I would never do. I was like, bro, go get your mom and get you, or say something smart ass, you know. And I mean, I've been in construction a long time. I've definitely been around some of the roughnecks, but between that and prison, I'm surprised I can even smile anymore.
Oh,
No,
yeah.
but it's so freeing. Do you know what I mean? Like it's so freeing to listen to positivity on Instagram. You're now I listen to your podcast if I'm having a slow day at work or if I just want to hear somebody else's story, you know? I mean, essentially it's a testimony of their life, how they survived and why they're still breathing. What choices did they make that I can learn from? You can always learn from somebody's story,
Oh,
right?
absolutely.
And I love the courage, right? When I graduated from that program, my favorite quote was, let's see, bravery isn't the absence of fear; it's feeling that fear and still walking through it. You know, I mean, that's essentially what it is. Like, you have to conquer those fears because I guarantee there's something positive on the other side.
Yeah.
You
You
know,
know, and
and
with you saying that, it brings me back to something that I read. I read this book by Napoleon Hill, and it was called Outwitting the Devil.
oh,
And I've talked about this before on a few of the shows. And when his wife read it, his wife said, "You will never ever publish this book as long as I'm alive," because this was back in 1934. And
mm-hmm.
she says, "We will be the laughing stock. There is no way." Well, she ended up passing, I think, in 1980 something, I think it was. Someone got the rights to some of this stuff and they finally published this book. And it's
Nice.
Napoleon Hill interviewing the devil. And if you hear it on Audible, it'll give you freaking goosebumps. I mean, literally, it will give you goosebumps. There's a
I'll
section
have
in
to
there.
write that one down.
Yeah, I think it's called Outwitting the Devil by Napoleon Hill.
Outwitting
And
the devil.
there is a time when Napoleon Hill asked the devil, and I'm basing this off of what you just said about the fear.
Yeah.
He tells the devil, he goes, so you're probably afraid of religions, aren't you? And the devil chuckles and says, religions? No, they're my greatest allies. He's like, that may be your greatest allies. They're religion. They're about God. They're against you. He goes, no, they're not against me. They're for me. And Napoleon Hill's not
Wow.
understanding what he means. He goes, religion put the fear of me in the people that go to church. And fear is my greatest strength.
Mm.
And I got goosebumps now just thinking about it, because
Wow.
this is how I look at it. And I'm not saying, I don't want to say my belief. I'm working on wanting to change a word on that. So the way I value it is,
Mm-hmm.
if you have fear with what you just said, that quote you just said, that is our exact reason, other than jumping off a cliff without something to hold us, right? That's our purpose.
Yeah.
That's our reason to move forward, because that's the opposition holding us back from what he knows could be one of our greatest moments, because he doesn't want us to have those greatest moments. So
Mm.
as long as we're moving forward, we're advancing.
Yes, I agree. I agree. I think that's interesting. I look at it like, I fear, like, so when you give yourself to God, for instance, it becomes more about obedience, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being obedient to what he teaches and believes. And I fear that more than, I don't fear the devil. I realize he's real, and he's definitely I mean, I I know I'm going to put this out there, but my girlfriend and I we're abstaining, right? Because I've realized there's some things she's still working out in her past relationship, and I've never been married, and so I'm not going to. I'm respecting God, right? I'm
Right.
respecting what choices I made, right? And I'm doing this deck and stuff, and it's just, it sounds silly, but some female came out and she was out in the park and she was wearing almost nothing and she was doing all these stretches and stuff. I'm like, I just kind of chuckled and I said, "Not today, devil." I said, "Not today, buddy. I'm gonna keep working." But
Yeah.
I mean, it could be something little like that, it's just like a squirrel. You see a squirrel and all of a sudden you're chasing that, but you got to really be disciplined within your mind, just like you're disciplined to go to the gym. You're disciplined to go to the gym. I wake up, I don't turn on the news. I go and I read something positive. I say a prayer or whatever, and I start my day, because the news is negativity, right? The
Yeah.
news just it wants to suck you into that, to things you can't change. You literally can't change that. You can vote, but you can't change what's going on in the country. You can't change any of that personally. And I think a lot of us would if we could, right? But there's just no way to do that.
Yeah. It's out of our
So
control.
it's out of our control, and that's one thing I'm learning too with uh, going through mentor works, is like, I'm only in control of me, man. I can't control what that guy thinks, what they think, what they do. I mean, all I can do is control me and endure whatever comes down my path, positively, hopefully. Um, I'm not gonna lie, it's been the early stages of like not drinking are tough, right? I reverted back to anger, like my emotion. I was just angry about this and angry about that, and then I started settling down and realizing, dude, you're just affecting yourself, man. Nobody cares that you're angry. They think you look stupid, really. I mean, if you see someone really angry and they're an adult, and you're just like, man, this guy, go work out or something, man. But it's more of it's amusing, right? When you see that, and then when you do it yourself, you're like, oh, no one sees that, but they see the same thing, bro. Like,
Yeah.
so it's funny, but I mean, I haven't even hit a year, Al, and a lot has changed mentally, and I don't even listen to certain music anymore. It just like gives me a bad taste. It's not all about God. Don't get me wrong. I mean, I grew up in the '90s, Dr. Dre. I listened to all that kind of stuff because I like the way people sing rap. I like to hear their stories. I like the beat, and so I listen to a lot of Christian rap now. But you have to change your perspective individually. And you got to understand, when you're listening to certain things continuously, it goes in your ear, right? And then it goes in your mind, and then it goes down. Hopefully it doesn't go down to your heart if it's negative, but it's a thought that leads to an action, right? And so I try to listen to things that are more, even podcasts, just uplifting, positive, informational, all that kind of stuff, because it's just better. That's how I'm glad I'm able to do that during the day. I can listen to podcasts all day and still work. I can multitask,
Yeah. Yeah.
So I'm fortunate for that. But yeah, I mean, I pretty much what I wanted to say on this is the importance of finding what works for you. I mean, some people, God works the first time and it's amazing. Some people, one program, but like, you have to change what didn't work and find something else that might work, right? I would encourage anybody to go through a therapy that kind of works on your brain, because your brain is so amazing. It's just, I mean, I can't even tell you the stuff I've seen when I'm detoxing. I mean, I don't even know how my brain even thinks that stuff up, but it's scary and it's demonic, honestly.
Yeah.
Um,
Yeah.
it's stuff you can't really remember to repeat, because it's that freaked out. I was freaked out, But I definitely believe that we're here for fighting the one thing that we were kind of sucked into at Adam and Eve, right? Sin is affecting everything in this world negatively, and that's what the devil wants, and that's just how it's that's the only thing that makes sense to me. And you can gradually seeing it get worse, even in stores, in traffic, in all these things. And it's funny, I was listening to your podcast, right? And I remember it was on Spotify, and you're listening to this deep conversation, all of a sudden the commercial comes in, and like you're listening, and just it's like squirrel again. Like they're trying to get you to like think about something completely different than just focusing on this. And I feel like that is exactly my point. That the devil or whatever, life, the world sucks you into this stuff that doesn't even matter. I mean, it doesn't matter. Just stay focused on what you have to do. And trust me, I got a long ways to go. Like sobriety is the tip of the iceberg. I got to figure out what I'm going to do the rest of my life. I'm getting old. I can't build decks till I'm 80.
Yeah.
I really got to focus on, that stage of my life now, the credit and the things that I've just like, basically turned my back on, or you start building something and get thrown in jail or prison. And so you lose everything. So, it's hard. It's definitely hard, and the system doesn't make it easy. It's not like they give you a comfort in once you get out and say, hey, this is your skill set. Let's find you these jobs. It doesn't work that way. I mean, people are really struggling out there that don't have a trade, and they want to go back to their selling drugs or whatever they were good at on the street, because that's the only way they know how to make money, right?
Yeah.
Nobody wants to be homeless.
No, it's it's a scary thing, especially nowadays, right? I mean,
Yeah.
You've said it a couple times here, Justin, throughout the show. Changing our perspective, right? I mean, how we look at things, because there's so much going on out there that we have no control over. However, we have control over our thoughts. We have control over our choices. And years ago, I stopped watching the news years ago. I'm like, all it is a bunch of negative BS. And I don't want negativity in my life. I've had enough of it. Right. And still, life is still going to hit you. Right. You're going to get punched in the gut quite often, because that's just how life works. That's what makes us stronger.
Yeah.
It's you said that you have a routine in the mornings, Oh, excuse me for that. Someone's horn is going off. Okay, there we go. So yeah, it's changing your stuff, right? Because I have a routine every morning as well. I'm up at 5 o'clock, even on the freaking weekends. I'm up at 5 o'clock. Every once in a great while, I may sleep till 6 or 6:30. but I'm up at 5. I have my morning ritual that I do. I have my prayers. I make my coffee. I do 9 minutes of meditation, and that's how I start my day. And then Monday through Friday, unless I'm doing a job early in the morning, I'll go on a Saturday or a Sunday. I go to the gym. I'm at the gym for an hour and a half to 2 hours. That's how I start almost every single one of my mornings. And I've been doing it for years.
Mhm.
And it has changed my life in so many different ways. And there's quite a few people who I've not pushed out of my life, but let's just say I've stepped away, right?
You
Because
have to.
of the negativity. And it's
Mhm.
hard, right? Because you still care for the individuals, except I'll care for them from a distance, right? And now when I started this show in March of 2021, I'm coming up on 3 years of doing this.
Oh
The
wow. Good
people
job.
who I have met in my life are some of the most amazing individuals. And the majority of them are my guests, right? Because
Yeah.
they taught me how to look at life. Because some of them had dug a deep, deep, dark hole. You're sharing your deep, dark hole, and you're talking about your resilience. And it's helped me. It's helped me become more of a better person. And it's helped me understand how I need to look at life and how I cannot judge someone just because. I mean, I got friends who have tattoos all over their face from back in their drug days and gang days and things like that. And I tell you what, I'd hang with those guys any day of the week. They are the most giving, thoughtful, loving individuals I've ever met. Right. And it really helps us when we can get ourselves around the right people with the right energy. And I think you said that before we even started recording, because it literally does change us, right? That energy starts absorbing into us, and we start admitting it without us even knowing it.
Right. I kind of isolated for a long time. I mean, I was always the bad seed in the family, and just kind of my family let me know for years that I had to stay sober for a long time before I'd be accepted in the family. And like that's an ex to me, that's like a external motivation. That wasn't motivating me to stay sober. That was motivating me to like think about, why am I even going back to the family if I have to. Like, obviously they wanted me sober. I'm not a very friendly guy when I'm drinking consistently, and I get that, but like that wasn't enough motivation. So when my dad died, I wasn't sober, and that beat me up more than anything else, because it was like he just died like in 2 weeks. He took the vaccine and was gone. I'm like, what the? So you don't think that it's going to happen to you, but it does, and it's going to happen when you least expect it. And so, um, I was like, that dang, like that was the key to get sober before my dad died, and um, it just didn't work. It had to be my motivation. It had to be me looking at myself in the mirror and saying, "Are you done? Are you done yet? Like, you have lost this battle. It's not going to be won." Um, and so that was huge for me. And then now I'm going to honor his name. I mean, I believe he understands and sees what's happening after this. He's gone. And I feel like, to honor him, I'm gonna just stay sober and be the best what he taught me to be, a gentleman and a man of God, and someone that he always used to say, just wants you to be happy. Find happiness, son. Like, that's all I want for you. You're not gonna find it in the women, you're not gonna find it in the drugs, you're not gonna find it in drinking. And he texted me like 10 minutes before he died, and he said, "You'll never reach your full potential until you stop drinking. Period."
Wow.
And that is that in a nutshell. I've done, I mean, just this year, I've tripled my income because I've, done jobs on my own, like framing jobs, 7,000 here, 10,000, and so it's like, I wouldn't have been able to do that by myself if I was drinking. Heck no. So, I mean, it's not about that, but it's like, look at what you've done. These are the small accomplishments that you got to pat yourself on the back, not in front of people. Just say, yes, thank you, I did that. And instead of like someone saying, "Oh, you did that again," or the negativity from you. Yeah, I don't need that. I don't need that for a while. So if I have to separate myself, well, cool. I let my sister come around when she was ready to come around. I didn't press her and say, "Oh, I'm sorry, I graduated from a program." You know what I actually told her? I said, "Don't come to the graduation." I said, I've asked you guys to do too much. I'm doing this on my own, and it's because I need to do it on my own without having you come all the way out here to watch me graduate from the program."
Wow.
So yeah, so she respected that, and I did that for a reason, because all this was on my own. Like, she didn't see what I was going through, but I needed to walk through this by myself and say, "Look, so many people have tried to help you and you pushed them away, and now you have no one. So what you gonna do?" you know, like, God
Oh,
said, "Hey, now you got nobody. So what you gonna do?" And I have people. Don't get me wrong, but I've lost some good friends. I've lost some great relationships because I chose to drink rather than do this. 5 years here, like you said, the 3 year there. Great relationships with their parents and family. And unfortunately, when the demon crawls back in, and that's the bottle, that people don't recognize me. It's just a
yeah.
different person. So I am grateful to be sober. I'm grateful to be. I hope someday I can be, a platform for people, or I wanted to do fitness for like youngsters that maybe were going down the wrong path. I don't know. I still have some ideas in my head, but ultimately, I just want to help people, and I think I'll be directed in the right path to do that, hopefully in the future. But for now, I got to focus on myself and my mental stability. Continuing moving forward. I mean, it has to be a lifestyle.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, and with you looking at it that way and staying focused on it, your answers will come, right? And you know that.
Yeah.
That's why you're staying on that
Right.
path. You already know it. They'll just start showing up, because it's it's
Right.
it's crazy how it works, right? And it's just like when I started this show, I really didn't expect it to go this far, in all honesty. And I've never done a podcast. I just jumped in it and just started
Hey,
going, you know.
hats off to you then, because that's a fear that I definitely would have.
Well, thank
It's like
you.
this, the fear of speaking in public. I mean, I think I heard you say something in your podcast that you were so nervous, that your pants were shaking or something, or
Yeah,
your legs
yeah.
were shaking.
I
I
won
was
I
I was
won an
like that.
award, and it was the very first award it was called the Craig Deering Legacy Award. And Craig Deering's a gentleman who was the original president at the West Jordan Chamber. West Jordan is where I grew up, and I got
Okay.
involved in, and I started, this was after I lost my job of 24 years, and I started going out to the community. I started volunteering, which is something I no way in hell I would have ever done before.
Yeah.
Right. I always had that excuse. I'm too busy while my feet are up on the coffee table and I'm watching football or NASCAR or whatever it may be. And
Right.
I got up there and I had to say something. And I literally remember feeling my pant legs hitting my legs because I was shaking so bad. Now I'm going up and I'm telling my story in front of recovery centers. I'm the co-founder of the Healing Utah Success Summit. We just did our third event on October 7th. I mean, I've spoken in front of
Awesome.
130 plus people, and it is, my pant legs don't hit my legs anymore, right? My heart's pounding really hard, but as soon as I start, it's like I just fall into this zone, and I know
Yeah.
I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be. And I'm so comfortable. And I don't know, I show my emotions up on stage, I'll cry. I'll get very, very loud with my talking. I can get very aggressive with my hands, but it's coming from here. And
Hmm.
that's where I want. See, I get emotional talking about it. That's because this is where I want it to come from. I want people to feel it, you know?
Right.
Yeah, because
Yeah.
it will change things, I hope.
No, I get exactly what you're saying. When I graduated in my speech, they said it was the best speech they've heard in a long time, probably ever. And it was just because it came from my heart. Like, I haven't cried in, I don't even know how long. I mean, cried when my dad died, but I mean,
Yeah.
really cry sober, cry when you're not drinking. You know, everybody cries when they drink. They watch a movie and they cry.
Yeah.
but like, but really feel what you just did for you. Not, it's not, who cares what everyone else thinks? They probably think you're still that loser. You're just doing this to kill time. Whatever they think, who cares? Like, they're not paying my bills. They're not, you know, I have to survive in this world on my own with the knowledge that I've been given and what I continue to learn. Right.
Yeah.
And so it was probably the best feeling I've had in years. I don't even know how, when I caught a touchdown in high school, like that feeling when everyone's cheering, but you're just cheering for yourself because you knew what it took to get to that point. I mean, I work all day and then I go to 4 hours of intensive outpatient every night for 4 days a week. And then I'd go to therapy on Friday for 6 months straight. And, you know, I'm not saying patting myself, but that's commitment because I knew that I was done. So I had to commit. I had to do it. Some people do 90 meetings in 90 days and do all that stuff, which is great if it works for you. But still, they're showing that commitment that they're done. They're done.
Yeah.
They're tired, whatever the case may be. And so I really think so. I think I mentioned I did an interview for Fit to Recover back in 2017. And I was on Channel 2 News about like what the gym was doing for me, how it was helping me, you know, stay sober. And I think the reason I got to that point was honestly because my girlfriend was sick of the drinking. She's like, go to Odyssey. You got to get out of here for a little while, you know, like figure it out. But it opened that door for Fit to Recover, and I just mentally wasn't ready. Physically, yeah, I loved it. I mean, I loved the community, the positivity. I loved all that, but I just mentally wasn't ready for sobriety. You know, I wasn't. That was the most social I've been in years. You know, So, I mean, for some people, it might be baby steps. But as long as I stay sober from this point on and treat people the way I want to be treated, then that's a huge plus for the ending of my life, you know?
Oh, yeah.
And so like I can really say, no, I don't beat myself up. You know, if I've had actually 6 or 7 encounters just going to Home Depot or like some store of being able to make amends with people, just not even calling them and trying, you know what I mean? So it just works that way, you know. That energy just moves in that direction, and people can see that you're sincere, that you're tired, and you're sorry, and it's not only sorry, but you're taking action, and so it doesn't happen again. You know, that's the key. You got to make sure that doesn't happen again. It's kind of like repentance. Like if you're turning from what you don't want to do anymore, then turn. Same thing with addiction. Turn away from it. Do something else.
Yeah.
And I firmly believe that you can do that in your mind for sure.
Oh, I'm with you on that one. I mean, seriously, I really am. You know, you mentioned Fit to Recover. This gal friend of mine, we just went to a sound bath at Fit to Recover. And a guy that I work with in the home improvement area, he's our electrician, just an amazing man, Cap Summerhays. Yeah, just really, really
Nice.
good friend of mine. His sister and another girl by the name of Rachel hold this thing, and he's been trying to get me to go for months, right? And I'm like, no, no. And I like the meditation, and I'm into working my mind and stuff like that. And with what I've had going on in my life here recently, he come up to me. I was upstairs doing some stuff in this house we're remodeling, and he comes running up and he goes, "Did you get my text?" And he's all excited, right? And I says, "No, I didn't." He goes, "I'm inviting you. It's this coming Tuesday, this Tuesday." Which the following week, he goes, "You need to be there. I'm serious. You need to be there." And I gave him my word. I says, "Okay, on payday, I will buy a ticket and I will go." And I asked my friend, "Hey, do you want to go to this?" She's like, "Oh, heck yeah, absolutely. Let's go." I tell you what, you talk about detoxing your brain. That detoxes your brain. For 2 hours, you are doing nothing but heavy, heavy breathing through your mouth, not through your nose. I mean, your mouth is like chalk at the end of it, because you're breathing in all this air, and you've got the eye guards on, you got headphones on where the instructor's talking to you, you've got certain type of music that's playing, you're
Oh
laying on
wow,
the mat,
that's pretty cool.
and you're doing this heavy breathing. And there's a time where you hold your breath and you hold it as long as you can, and then all this negative stuff that you want to get out, you just scream, and you can hear your own self kind of screaming because your voice is vibrating you,
Yeah,
but everyone else in the whole room is screaming too, right? And it's releasing all this stuff, and you do it a couple times during this, and it's just amazing. I mean, I'm like, holy
yeah,
shit, I'm hooked now. I am hooked
that's
because
awesome. Maybe I'll check it out.
yeah, their next one's on December 12th. So if you can remember December 12th, and it's like $33, which
Yeah,
really isn't nothing. And you
I
go
still
into,
have their mind. Yeah, go ahead. Sorry.
I was just saying, you go into the other room, not where all the workout stuff's at, but you go into the new area that they just opened up. And yeah, it's pretty cool.
Nice. Yeah, I think I still have the mind and body app that they usually go through all their classes and stuff. It's just so hard to get down there. Like I used to be there every morning at 6:30 with Vicky's class. And no, Vicky's like the CEO or something, the president, something, and she's a very awesome person. She's helped me in some dire times, and but that's the thing is like my dad had money. He always helped me. He would help. He didn't want me around, but he would help me with money. And so that was actually it was kind of a crutch, because you don't learn to really manage money until you buy your own thing, and you don't want anything bad to happen to what you buy, right? Because you
Yeah.
bought it with your hard, and that's kind of been an obstacle. I'll be honest, because spoiled brat kids. I worked hard, but I was spoiled at the same time, and so like I have to work through that balance as well. Um, but I actually kind of lost my train of thought, but
Well, you're just talking about how your dad didn't want you around, but he gave you money to help you,
yeah.
yeah.
And sometimes enabling, it's called enabling essentially, like all the drug addicts know. And I never had a house to always go back to recover. I never had that. I was always in sober living. I was always in a girlfriend's house or just trying to make it. I mean, fortunately I made enough money to stay afloat with construction, because if you know what you're doing, you can make decent money. But other than that, like it's been a fight. So but like you say, it's building relationships with other people in recovery, and then helping each other. Not hey, let me give you some money, but hey, I have this job that somebody doesn't want to do, or word of mouth, and that's just how it works. And so, I think it's awesome that you're basically like an older version of me, just probably in better shape than I will be
Oh, I
at
don't know.
60. I mean, I'm 5'6", like 200 pounds, but I'm having this back issue stuff, man. I keep like straining my back, and it's funny when you strain your back, you look in the mirror and your torso is like, and you're like, what is going on here?
Yeah.
How do I get back to normal? So
Yeah.
but yeah, just better stretches and stuff at the gym essentially is what I got to work on.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Justin, I mean, seriously, you're an amazing individual, and you talked about before the show, there is no coincidences. And I'm a firm believer as with that as well. God places people in front of us for reasons. And
definitely.
and it's always seems to be, well, of course, it's perfect timing every single time. And I feel like we only had a short time to talk at the gym. I think maybe 5-10 minutes, and we both had to get off and go to work, and go do our own thing. I feel like I've known you for a long time already, and opening up and being so vulnerable and sharing your story. And I mean, I can tell by the way that you hold yourself, and you're on this mission, and you're on a mission that's a good mission. It's a healthy mission. It's a mission for you, right? And by
Hmm.
you holding yourself to this, you're changing others. I mean, you mentioned how your girlfriend said thank you. You changed her and didn't even realize it, right? You were helping her and
Yeah,
didn't even realize it. And it's because of how you're looking at life now, right? And it's your whole perspective, like what we said, change your perspective. And it changes your life in so many flippin' ways. I mean, if you really start paying attention to it, you should really start seeing how many blessings are out there on a daily basis, to be honest with you. And I had someone throw one of my things back at me yesterday. You know, I
What's that?
mentioned on the show every once in a while, and even in some of my public speaking, I'm like, we are so busy looking at life through a straw, right? We when we're kids, remember how we used to look through the straw like we got our telescope,
Hmm.
you know, and we're playing, and all you see is just this little dot that's out in front of you. And we're missing all this amazing stuff that's coming at us from every single side. When we split
I
that
agree.
straw and we start peeling it back and everything starts opening up, we start we start looking a little bit more about looking in the mirror and seeing the message in the mirror. We start looking at things differently. And I was talking to my friend last night, and she goes, Al, I've heard you talk about looking at life in the straw. And with something that had happened down the road, a month and a half or whatever down the road, she goes, that's exactly how you was looking at it. And
Hmm.
I didn't even realize I went back at looking in that straw, right? I wasn't looking at the whole vision. Somehow, some way, I allowed myself to come right back to that again. And I was very, very grateful that she did that, that she opened my eyes again, right? Because it's like, oh, hell no, I don't want to go back to this.
Hmm.
And when you surround yourself with people like that, we help one another, right? Because and we don't take offense of it because we want to grow, we want to learn, we want good things to happen in our life, and life will punch us in the gut. That's all part of life. However, to be surrounded by people who can go, you know what? You're starting to slip backwards just a little bit, right? Okay. Do we let our ego take
Accountability.
over and call BS on it? Or do we go, oh, seriously, really? Okay, I didn't realize it, right? Because we can fall back into that trap very quickly, as you know, right?
Definitely.
It happens. And it's just because of life, right? It can drag us back down, and to stay as positive as always. And not saying that we don't ever have bad days. You know, I think I'm pretty doggone positive. However, there are days, and there's sometimes it'll take me 2, 3 days, maybe even a week to get out of my funk, you know, but
Yeah.
I allow the process to happen. No, I allow it to happen. God gave me these feelings for a reason. I allowed myself to go through whatever I go through. And then I finally kick myself in the butt and go, okay, enough of it. It's time to move forward.
I like how you said that because like that's one thing my therapist always said to me. Is she's like, be mindful. Just be mindful of your anger. Feel it. Like, why are you angry? Feel why you're angry. Know why you're doing that so that you can change it the next time. You know what I mean? Um, Most of the time it's self-righteous, right? Or it's just, your way, selfish, the same selfish kind of thing. And I fall back into that. Like, um, with little things, traffic. Why is there not one road for Justin to get where he's supposed to go? And that's just it's just kind of like if you look at the contrast between that and everybody else and the baby crying in another person's car and the cancer patient and that, start breaking down what really is going on, then you start to say, all right, it's not so bad. You know,
Yeah.
it's just everybody's just trying to live their piece of their life and get through it, and that's what it is. And these platforms are good because when the church I go to is the first day I went, she was talking about our stories. And it was kind of like the straw thing, like she's like, we got this big circle of your story. And then this person knows that tiny little dot. And they don't then they want to judge you on that tiny dot when they don't even know the whole story. Read
Yeah.
the book. Set some time aside to say, hey, I want to get to know you better. Like, what makes you tick? Like, what struggles are you working on? It's just those open up. It opens up a conversation. You don't know where it
Oh,
will go.
yeah.
And so, yeah, I mean, we would have never met. So, I mean, I've always been kind of felt shut down and just like I was stuck in the just leave me alone phase, which you can't grow from that. You don't grow from that. It's just a bad place to be. Let's just put it that way. You know, but
Yeah.
so I'm so grateful. Like I was looking forward to this podcast because trust me, people, if I can get sober, anybody can. You know, I was so negative and so stuck on alcohol, and it was pathetic. Like, I mean, yeah, you don't need to know the gory details, but I mean, I would, I would not do anything, but it was just like pathetic, like it was just the detoxing, the throwing up, it was like a pattern of just repeating itself.
Yeah.
And it was like, that's no way to live. That's no way to live at all. And it, yeah. So I'm so grateful that, I worry that, growing up, even in the 90s, drinking illicit drugs weren't really around besides bud, smoking weed or whatever. But I don't even know what's out there anymore. And so like I don't even think about it, but I know that these kids, these youngsters, they want to be cool. And it's funny because after I bought that bag of chips for those two youngsters, I was like, hey, go to school. And it was like the high school across the street. And I turned around to go home and I saw them out there just hanging out with the homies or whatever. And I'm like, man, if I could just go smack some sense into you kids, like it's not worth it. So
Yeah.
it's like you said though, you got to have healthy boundaries though, because healthy boundaries with addiction or people in addiction or knowing when to help and when to back off, you have to always protect your peace, your serenity. And I think that's key. I mean, you can only do so much if they don't want to help. And that was a hard lesson I had to learn. I've learned it a couple times actually. So, that's very important to understand, is like, it's easy to get sucked in or pulled down into somebody else's mess because you feel like you're able to help them get out of it, when really, I heard this thing on Instagram. Okay. It's simple. You could go through the worst trauma in your life. Let's say you're raped or something, and some guy beat you up all the time. That is a horrible thing that happened to you, but it's your responsibility to get back on track and be mindful and be healthy. He's not going to come back and make sure you're all right. I guarantee that. So it's up to you. As shitty as that was, what happened, you have to figure out how to get on track and get back to where you're going to live a healthy, productive life. Nobody else is in charge of that. And
Yeah.
some people don't like to hear that, but that's really what it is. It's going back to, you can't control anybody else's actions, thoughts, any of that. And unfortunately, some bad people come into your life and you have to deal with whatever you have to deal with. But I've gone through trauma, trust me. I've gone through abandonment. I've gone through all that stuff, neglect. And you have to understand why, sit down and talk to yourself. What is the purpose of this? And how can I use this to help somebody else? It might be embarrassing, I'm transparent. I'll tell you what, like, and people think it's crazy that I say the things I say, but it's like, look, life is short. If I can teach you something out of my story that'll help you understand that it's not worth going down that path, or there's better ways of handling things, I'll do it.
Yeah.
I have no problem with that. So, who knows what the future holds, and I know that it's going to be positive if I stay positive and just keep doing what I'm doing, and hopefully we see you around the gym, man. That one Saturday a week.
Yeah, I'll be there. About the only time I go on Saturdays is if I miss a time during the week. And, sometimes I'm working with my brother. We're pouring concrete early in the morning, so
That's why you're in shape.
That's a workout. We did this job this week where we broke out a landing at an HOA, and we had to put the concrete in the buckets and carry the concrete up the stairs, dump it, come back down, fill the buckets again. So I don't like working my legs. So that's why I hike and then I do concrete. So I'm like, I don't need to work out my legs at the gym.
concrete is what I started out in, and that was.
It's a tough job.
I had one of those bosses that was an alcoholic, and he was like, "You got two hands, you little prick, use them," And so
Jeez.
had to have something in my hand. Yeah, that's how I was taught. So when I hear whining on the job site, I try to like hold my tongue because
Yeah.
I went through a lot worse.
So Justin, before we sign off here, what did you want our listeners to gain from today's show, and what would be your main message to them?
I think I want the listeners to know that whoever's listening, whatever struggles you're going through, that you're worth it, man. Like you're worth getting past it. You're worth finding a solution to whatever you're going through and helping somebody else in the long term, and also value you for you and your core values and what direction you want to go in life, because what you think and how you see yourself, it will come to fruition. Trust me. I mean, I hung around youngsters or older cats when I was younger, and they were always coming from Cali and gangs and prison, and sure enough, that's where I ended up. And so you can redirect your thoughts in your brain on where you want to go in life, and everybody knows addiction, isn't it?
Yeah.
There is nothing good that comes from using drugs and punishing yourself like that. It's just stop it now so that you can enjoy some of the years later on, because I'll tell you, the sooner you stop and find the solution, the better off you'll be. And so many people told me that when I was younger, and I was like, go F off. Yeah. But I guess I wasn't ready. But I'm hoping that whoever hears this is ready. Life is to be lived happy, do the things you want to do. And don't be forced to do the things you don't by the courts or anybody else, because that's just not a path you want to go down. Trust me.
Yeah, it's not a life, either, right? It's not a life.
It's not a life. It really isn't. I mean, you're always going to be paying the man too, and I'm still paying the man, but I'm okay with it because I made the choices I made, and that's just what it is. But doesn't mean you have to keep making the same ones. And I think that's essentially it. Just change your perspective on everything. I feel like a sober life is an opposite of what you used to really think, honestly. Get rid of the negativity and enjoy the positive aspects of life, whether it's podcasts, books. I listen to a lot of books. I listen to good music, positive things on Instagram. There's tons of cool stuff on Instagram if you really seek out the motivational type stuff.
Yeah.
And just remember you're worth it.
That's a great message. That I loved it. Justin, thank you so much for taking time out of your
thank you.
And I know you had to rush at the end of the day to, from work to try to hurry and get home and things. And I just really appreciate it. Thank you so much for coming on and sharing your story and being vulnerable and using your voice, because I could almost pretty much guarantee somebody will hear this and hear your story, and you'll get somebody thinking, right? We never know how far of a reach these platforms have.
Oh, for sure.
Yeah.
You plant a seed and maybe it'll grow tomorrow, maybe it'll take a month, but as long as you plant it, hopefully it'll grow. And that's pretty much it. It's like this platform is for that. No one's going to change automatic. It's this information they have to hear and then kind of like process and digest, and then hopefully they make the right choices, right? Because that's what it comes down to, is making choices that are productive for your life, essentially.
Yeah. Amen.
All right. Thank you, brother. I appreciate you.
Yeah, you bet. Hang on before when we sign off, just stay on a little bit, sir, so I can chat with you just for a second. But guys, again, Thank you to everyone. Thank you to all our sponsors, all our listeners, all our supporters, man. Guys, we could not do this without you. You hear me say that every week, and it's because it's true. You guys are the ones that are making this a success, you and our guests. So thank you. And we'll leave you with this as we do at the end of every show. Remember, addiction is giving up everything for one thing, and recovery is giving up one thing for everything. We're out.